Hey, I'm Sven Masterson, and I show men how to transform painful, broken, and dying marriages into deeply connected and thriving relationships. And in my conversations with men about these deeply painful relationships, a lot of times men have a real dilemma with their partner. Sometimes it happens because a man is in a sexless marriage and his wife wants to change the expectations or conditions of a marriage relationship. Other times this issue comes up when a man is in the process of maybe even dissolving his marriage and his wife is getting a little bit concerned, and so she says, hey, I want to stay married but not really married, because she doesn't want to give up some of the things that she likes about marriage. And so what is a man to do when, without your desire being the same, your wife wants to kind of change what it means to be married? This can be extremely complicated. It's emotionally taxing and difficult for men to wade through. And so I want to speak to you, men watching this video. If this is you, if you feel like your spouse is moving the goalpost and is kind of wanting to live in a marriage relationship where she orders from a menu of sorts, saying, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that, but I don't want this thing. I don't want the main course. I just want the appetizers and dessert, right? If this is you, it's really important to know how to navigate this like a secure, confident, grounded man who has clarity and understands his value and worth. And so let's talk about what brought this up. I'm helping a man in our community and in my one-on-one practice who is actually going through the dissolution of his marriage. He spent a number of years trying to heal some disconnection, but the reality is his wife is living in a place where she really doesn't want to be married. Yet they have 2 children, they have a shared life, a shared home, and she is kind of in this dilemma where she just wants to figure herself out, and she doesn't want to be encumbered with what it means to be married, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a spouse, and so forth. Well, my client and friend, he's given this a number of years. He's tried to be patient. He has been patient. He hasn't tried. He has been patient. And he has been gracious and benevolent and just trying to give his partner the space to sort her insides out. But at the end of the day, in her position, she doesn't see herself as being able to be in a romantic, connected, intimate relationship with him. And yet, that's what he wants. And so she recently said, can't we just figure out a way to make this work? Because she doesn't want to experience divorce. She doesn't want to experience the financial implications of having to be on her own, having to take care of herself. She doesn't want to experience the custody of the children half the time, the loss of the family dinners, the loss of a lot of things that come with marriage. And so she said, can you just treat me like a sister or maybe just like a friend? Can we kind of basically be co-parents and roommates and yet not really married? Now, my friend and client says within himself, that's not what I want. That's not what I want at all. That's not what marriage means to me. And yet, part of him says, but maybe if I do that, I just give it a little bit more time, eventually things will get sorted out. She'll come to a different conclusion and we'll live happily ever after. Now, my counsel to this man was, don't do that. It's never helpful for a man to compromise on his authentic truth. If you know yourself as a man and you know what's authentically you, versus what is neediness or insecurity, you can come to a conclusion where you say, you know what, I'm not going to apologize for the kind of life and marriage I want. I have one life to live on this planet, and so does my partner. And I'm not going to fritter it away while hoping that another person changes so that I can have the life that I want. Brother, if you're watching this and this is you, it's essential that you never compromise on this life that you want. Now, it's also essential that the life you want cannot require other things of other people. I know that might seem like a paradox. But it goes like this. Like if the life I want includes a connected romantic partner who wants to be with me, I can't force a person to be with me. But if the person in my life says, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to be a romantic partner, it's incumbent upon me, because it's the life I want, for me to change, for me to go in a different direction, including sometimes letting a relationship go. Now, this is a highly nuanced topic, and I'm sure there's a lot of confusion for some people watching this, especially if, like me, you hold marriage to be a valuable thing. I've been married for 30 years. I've never been divorced. I'm married to the same woman that I married as a 20-year-old young man and kid, and I have a deeply connected, passionate relationship. I started that marriage as a man who said, I'm in this till death, no matter what. Now, interestingly, because I held that value, what happened was when things started to get not so great for me, I felt like I couldn't actually push for the life I wanted, because I risked breaking this thing called marriage and then having to live out the rest of my days with a broken, unsatisfying relationship. You see, that made me afraid of my authentic truth. And it wasn't until by actually a happenstance that I came to the conclusion that, you know what, I never want to be divorced, but I see the wisdom in allowing that as an escape hatch in my concept of marriage, that kind of wiring in the possibility or escape hatch of divorce actually made me push for truth, authenticity, and insistence towards myself that I will not compromise on the life I want. And an interesting thing happened when I did that. You see, when we're authentic as men, when we stick to integrity, even though it's costly, when we refuse to compromise on something true to us, we become more attractive. We become very clear. We become calm, because we rest into this very important thing for men, which is to be trustable to yourself, to trust that you're not going to deviate from the course you have set for yourself. And when you do that in a relationship like marriage, your trust for yourself, your insistence upon being a man of integrity, well, it's trustable to other people. Other people know where you stand, and it polarizes them either further in towards you, that's called attraction, or it polarizes them away from you. Now, I know if you're like I was, you're scared of the polarizing away from you option, but hear me out here. Do you want to be in a relationship with someone who the only way you can have that relationship requires being inauthentic and out of integrity? Tell me, if you would, how you're going to create a great life by being an inauthentic, no integrity man. There's no path to that. You see, to have the life we want, we have to want that life and love that life more than we love a specific person. And a lot of people can't understand this. I couldn't understand it as a 20-year-old, and it was after 20 years of marriage that it finally clicked to me that I serve my wife and family the most, the best, when I am absolutely unwilling to compromise the life I will have for myself. Now, I'm not talking about a selfish life where I just pursue what I care about and I just dismiss my wife's needs and cares and concerns or that of my children. Not at all, because my wife and children are very important to me. But yet, I can't fall on my sword day after day saying, I don't matter, everybody else matters, and I'm just here for the service of other people, and actually end up in a place of fullness, of joy, and of well-being. And if I don't have those things, I'm no good to my family. And that's exactly the story that I got into in my first 20 years of marriage, because I just didn't get it. I thought it was virtuous or godly to be the kind of man that just put himself absolutely last. And so I compromised on things. I wanted certain things, but I didn't have the courage to say them, because if I said them and I blew up things, I'd have to deal with the consequences. That's essentially what it means to be a nice guy, by the way. And the reason nice guys finish last, guys like me at the time, is because we're deceitful, we're cowardly, we're liars, we're manipulators. We're not at all authentic. And none of those characteristics are attractive to a woman. And so when you let that go, being inauthentic, and you say, it's more important to me to be an authentic man than a married man, something changes. And so that's the kind of energy you need to bring into a relationship when your partner says, hey, I want marriage to be different than when we began this. Now listen, I'm not saying don't be a man that negotiates how and what life looks like as a married person. In 30 years with my wife, we have both changed, and so we're constantly needing to just reorient to one another and recommit to each other, meaning even though we're in a long-term committed relationship, we also recognize that we grow, we evolve as people, our values change, and it's important to keep reestablishing what it means to us to be in this relationship. Now, that's actually really freeing to us. And if my wife tomorrow said, hey, you know what, this monogamy stuff, I'm not into that anymore. I would like to explore other people. For me, I could tell you today, and I assume tomorrow, that doesn't meet my definition of marriage, and that's a deal breaker for me. And so by saying authentically, no, that's not okay with me, I'm going to choose my authentic truth over my marriage to my wife Zelda. Not because I don't love her, but because I'm unwilling to be out of integrity and inauthentic in order to stay with her. And because I live like that, it turns out that is an attractive quality. My wife enjoys being with me because I'm clear about who I am, what is authentically true to me, what integrity looks like, and I will not compromise on that. Now, if I said, well, I don't want that, but you do, and I'm afraid of loss, and so I'm going to zip my mouth shut, and I'm just going to sit here and stomach the churning dissatisfaction, the resentment, the anger, the frustration, and all that comes with this, well, I'm the one that's going to have a cancerous insides. They're just eating me out from the inside out, that is just feeling awful because I have a truth and I'm scared of my own truth. And when I'm scared of my own truth, I'm not trustable because I don't actually follow my truth. Instead, I do what's expedient, what is comfortable. And fellas, a woman will not trust a man who just does what's pragmatic and what's comfortable. And this could present a real paradox when a woman comes to you who's in your relationship and says, I really want a lot of concessions. I don't want to have to be committed to you, but I want some of the benefits of being committed to you. You know what? There's a part of you that says, boy, I don't want to blow up my family. I don't want to see my kids half the time. Maybe I'll just concede to this. Let me tell you, after talking to hundreds of guys about this, what happens when you do that. Your partner will lose more respect for you. You become shifty in her eyes, whether she's conscious of it or not. You become untrustable. You become a person with low integrity, and it doesn't work. And so you keep finding I'm constantly moving the goalpost, and I'm participating as a party in something I do not want. When you do that, your life is not feeling good, and it's not helping her either. And so even though it's the hardest thing to do sometimes in that moment, you must go with integrity and authenticity. That means if your wife is saying, I just want to be married forever, but I don't ever want to be sexually intimate again. Okay, well, if it's authentic for you to never be sexually intimate again, and you want to do that, but fine. I'm not going to judge you for that. But if I know you better, I would say most men are not okay with that. And if you just stomach that and you say, okay, I'll figure out a way to try to make myself happy, and you just go along to get along, you're not a trustable man. You're not a man actually with integrity, because you have a truth and you're hiding it. And when you hide anything, you're working against vulnerability. You're working against authenticity. You're working against intimacy. And that's oftentimes why your wife doesn't want to be intimate in the first place. Because who wants to be intimate with a person who hides themselves? Do you? I'm guessing not. And so, paradoxically then, what works in that situation to move in a positive trajectory is to say, sweetheart, I can appreciate that you never want to be intimate again, and I don't judge you for that. And that's okay. I release you to live in that lifestyle. You just won't be Mrs. Masterson anymore. Not because I have any venom or vile attitude towards you, but because the trajectory for my life, it does not include being celibate. I don't want that for myself. I'm okay if you want that for you. We'll just have to end our mutual commitment to each other, because the commitments we started with, they no longer work for both of us. And so then you're able to put an end to that commitment, because you have to. The commitment has changed. You didn't change your commitment, but your partner wants something that you simply cannot go along with and remain authentic and within your integrity. Let me tell you, even though this man I'm talking with who's facing this situation, this is not his situation, but this is a huge problem for men in sexless marriages. In fact, it's usually one of the main reasons men stay in a sexless marriage, because they will not be authentic. Now, it's a dilemma, right? They want something, they won't actually fight for what they want, and so they never get what they want. But they stew, and they get frustrated and angry, and instead they spend decade after decade waiting and hoping their spouse changes her mind. But you know what? That's not how women work, first of all. And she's not going to change her mind. She's not going to suddenly respect a man who doesn't respect himself enough to leave a relationship that is not what he wants. And I know this is complicated. It's especially complicated if you're from a religious background that is like very anti-divorce. I get all that. I talk to people from these backgrounds all the time. I understand it's nuanced, but nevertheless, if you love your relationship more than you love your integrity and authenticity, you will generally have neither. Let me say that again, because it's very important. If you love your marriage and relationship more than you love your integrity and your authenticity, you will have none of them. You will not have integrity, you will not have authenticity, and you will not have a good marriage. Instead, you'll be angry and frustrated over your sexless marriage. Meanwhile, you'll be fantasizing, you'll be doing things that you don't want anybody to know about. You'll probably be a habitual masturbator, persons that fantasize, that cheat, that hire prostitutes, all so you could keep this relationship that doesn't work for you. Does that sound like integrity? Does that sound like virtue? Does that sound like somehow the God you're trying to please by not getting married will be pleased with that? Does that make any sense to you? No, it doesn't. And so I want to admonish you that if you really want to have the relationship you want, try choosing to be authentic first. Insist that authenticity and integrity be your number one thing. It has to come first before marriage. When it does, your marriage will order itself accordingly, 9 times out of 10. Usually when a woman sees, man, that dude is sold out on maintaining a virtuous, high character, noble way within himself, that's attractive. It makes her want to be with him. But the moment you are willing to compromise all that in order to be with her, you're going to lose. You're not going to like it. You're going to end up sexless. You're going to end up without intimacy, and you're not going to have integrity. Let's get back to some of these other things. What about when there's a divorce happening? What about my friend here whose wife wants to be treated like a sister? Does that work? Is that a good idea? No, for the same reason. Because if you value a relationship with someone more than your integrity, again, you won't have either. Because basically, in this case, what his estranged wife is saying is, I want some of a relationship, but not other parts. Can we change the commitment that we started from? Now, if he said, okay, I'm good with all that, I want the same things, well, that would be within his integrity. That would be authentic. But it's not. It's not what he wants. He wants a deeply connected, emotionally vibrant, passionate, intimate, and romantic relationship. And he would like to have it with her. But she doesn't want that. So what's he to do? Well, the same thing the guy in a sexless relationship is to do. You must choose authenticity and your integrity above all else. Now, will that fix everything? Not necessarily. But what it does is it ensures that you keep heading in the only direction that you can reliably head with results, which is to be yourself, to be real, to be trustable to you. Because the moment I compromise, I'm not trustable to me. I don't trust me to make correct, true decisions that reflect my value system. I get confused. And I start asking other people to fix and lead me. And when you do that in a marriage relationship, you're like, hey, I don't trust me to make a good decision. So maybe you could make the decisions. Maybe you could lead me, sweetheart. That woman is not going to be attracted to you. And it's not going to make her come near you. It's going to make her feel unsafe because you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, she can't be at ease with you because you lack confidence, you lack self-trust, you lack self-respect, you lack appreciation for yourself. And if you lack that for yourself, where on earth are you going to get those things to share with her? And so it's extremely important, really, in any marriage where a spouse is asking for you to change your rules to suit them, your rules being your value system. If you compromise and do that, you will not like where your marriage goes. And furthermore, your spouse will grow increasingly dissatisfied with who you are, increasingly disconnected, increasingly lose attraction, and increasingly become more and more and more distant. And you know what? If that's the life you want, well, then compromise. But if it's not the life you want, brother, then hang on to who you are. Be a man of integrity no matter what the cost. Be a man that insists on being authentic and only being in a relationship that gives you the opportunity and place to continue to be that. If you need help with all this stuff, I want to invite you to look in the description below. This is a complicated topic and everybody's story is a little different. And I would love to get to know yours. I would love to have a one-on-one with you where we talk about what's going on in your relationship. Where are you struggling between choosing authenticity and a relationship you don't want? And we'll talk about exactly why you're struggling to make that choice. You see, I didn't get into that in today's video, but the reason that we struggle to choose authenticity is always rooted in fear. That fear is always related to insecurity, and that insecurity is always related to shame that we carry around about who we are. And I love talking to people about that, helping them navigate the crud within that is preventing them from having clarity about their true, authentic integrity self, and helping them to learn how to boldly march forward in life courageously, knowing that it could be expensive. And brother, that turns a lot of failing marriages around. It's a scary thing to do, but it is the path to a great marriage, to a transformed life, and to the future that you're looking for. And if I can help you begin that journey, I would love to hear from you. You can find the link below where you can fill out a form. It'll take 7 to 8 minutes. It'll set up a call with myself or one of the mentors in my community, and we'll help you start working through that process. In the meantime, if you have a question, if there's something that came up for you today while watching this video, I would love it if you would ask that question in a comment. We love getting comments from viewers and questions, and we love to make videos in response to questions that come up in our videos. And so if we can make a video for you, please ask us. Just go ahead and leave a comment with that. If you would be so kind as to click the subscribe button, the thumbs up or thumbs down if you didn't find this helpful, that would also help us. It helps YouTube connect our message with more men who are struggling with this kind of a la carte, inauthentic marriage that they don't want. And we would love your help in getting in front of them. With that, I wish you a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.